දවස් 30ක්ම unlimited Netflix බලන්න. unlimited data pack එකක් මුළු පවුලටම unlimited fun එකක් අරගන්න. අදම active කරගන්න.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, hopes dashed. Curfew in the entire Western Province extended until the 9th of November, with more restrictions.
We also request the other citizens living in other parts of Sri Lanka also to refrain from crossing the borders of any district.
Extended vacations. As promised, police quarantine local travellers who fled the Western Province to escape curfew.
The outstations, police stations have traced 550 persons who had left Western Province disrespecting the quarantine order.
Home remedy. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa instructs officials to set up hotline to deal with symptomatic patients at home. The show must go on. The Colombo Stock Exchange says trading will continue unperturbed by the lockdown. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Sunday, the 1st of November 2020.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamke Kanaka. Now the curfew, which was in effect covering the entire Western Province, has been extended until Monday the 9th. The decision was arrived at following a meeting of the Presidential Task Force established to combat COVID-19 today. Inter-district travel is also suspended.
During the meeting of the Presidential Task Force established to combat COVID-19 today, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has emphasized the importance of the government's home quarantine measure, coming under the continuous focus of medical health officers, public health inspectors, the police and the tri forces to make the process more systematic. The President's media division said that the head of state instructed health authorities to conduct PCR tests on persons in home quarantine on the 10th day. Depending on the test results, those who did not test COVID-19 positive can return to their day-to-day lives after 14 days. Further, inter-district travel is also suspended, with the exception of goods distribution and essential services. Meanwhile, during the meeting, head of the Presidential Task Force in charge of economic revival and poverty eradication, Basil Rajapaksa, had stated that essential goods will be distributed during the curfew just as it was done before. What's more, the senior citizens' allowance too will be delivered to their homes. It has also been decided to provide a bag of goods worth 10,000 rupees to those in home quarantine. In the meantime, the President had instructed officials to conduct separate investigations if COVID-19 infections are found, even after the virus spread is arrested. One of the key decisions taken today is to extend the curfew in the Western Province until 5 a.m. on the 9th of November. Moreover, the curfew is imposed in the Aliagoda police area in the Ratnapura district, the Kurunagala municipality and the police area of Kuliyapitiya until the 9th. The police are instructed not to issue curfew passes during the said curfew period.
අපිට ඇත්තටම මාස දෙකකට ආසන්න වැඩි කාලයක් එකම ආසාදිතයක්වත් රට තුල තිබෙන්නේ නැති තරමට අපිට ගේන්න පුළුවන් වුණා. දැන් අනවුන්ස් උත් කරනවා මේ වගේ සිම්ප්ටම්ස් ඇවිල්ලා කැස්ස උණ මේවා තියෙනවා නම් ඉක්මනටම ඉස්පිරිතාලට යන්න කියලා. මේක වැරදි. මෙහෙම ඉස්පිරිතාලට යන්න ගියොත් මුල ඉඳලා එයා 3 wheeler එකයයි බස් එකයයි කාර් එකයයි ගිහිල්ලා හොස්පිටල් ගිහිල්ලා OPD එකේ ඉඳලා මේ සිස්ටම් එක අපි නවත්තන්න ඕන. අපි කියන්න ඕනේ එහෙම සිම්ප්ටම්ස් තියෙනවා නම් ඉමීඩියට්ලි එයාත් එයාගේ පවුලේ අයත් හෝම් ක්වරන්ටයින් වෙන්න. ඉඳලා නම්බර්ස් ටිකක් දෙන්න ඕන ටෙලිෆෝන් කරලා කියන්න මට මෙන්න මේ සිම්ප්ටම්ස් තියෙනවා. එතකොට අපිට පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕන අපි ගිහිල්ලා එක්ක ටෙස්ට් එකක් අර කරන්න. එහෙම නැත්නම් ගිහිල්ලා බැලුවාන් පස්සේ අවශ්‍ය නම් අපේ ඇම්බියුලන්ස් එක හරි වාහනයක හොස්පිටල් එකට ගෙනියන්න. කවුරුත් කියන්නේ නැහැ කවුද මේකේ වැඩියම වල්නරබල්. එතකොට තමන්ගේ ගෙදර වල්නරබල් එක්කෙනාව කොහොමද ප්‍රොටෙක්ට් කරන්නේ? මේවනේ කියන්න ඕන. දැන් මේක අපි ආණ්ඩුවෙන් දාපු වෛරසයක් නෙවෙයිනේ. ලෝකෙටම බලපාපු සෞඛ්‍ය ප්‍රශ්නයක්. එතකොට මේකෙදී ජනතාවට ලොකු වගකීමක් තියෙනවා. දැන් ඒක පැහැදිලිව මේ වගකීම කරේ නැති හින්දානේ මේ වගේ තත්යකට අපිට මුහුණ දෙන්න උනේ. දැන් අපි දැක්කනේ දැන් මෙච්චර දවස් 3ක කර්ෆියු එකක් දැම්ම ගමම්ම ඔක්කොම කොහොම හරි ගාල්ලට යන්න, ඇල්ලට යන්න, එහෙම යන්න ගියා. ඉතින් ඒ තරම් ඉරෙස්පොන්සිබල් වුණාම මේක ආණ්ඩුවකට විතරක් මේ වගකීම දෙන්න පුළුවන් කමක් නැහැ. මේ සැලැස්ම හරියට ක්‍රියාත්මක වුණොත් ඒකම ජනතාව ඒ වගකීම හරි විදියට, ඒ කියන්නේ අපි හෝම් ක්වොරන්ටයින් කරන්න කියලා දැම්මයින් පස්සේ එයා පොලිසියයි PHI තුයි ඇවිල්ලා යනකන් ඉඳලා මිනිහා ගෙදරින් ගියොත් ඒක වැඩක් නැහැ. එතකොට ඒ වගකීම අය ගන්න ඕන. ඉතින් මෙන්න මේවා තමයි ජනතාවට එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරන්න ඕන ගිහිල්ලා.
Safeguard hand sanitizer නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නිරෝගීමත් දිවියකට.
In the meantime, head of the National Centre for Prevention of COVID-19, Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavindra Silva, elaborated on the latest measures taken to prevent the spread of the coronavirus while delivering a special statement. Police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana meanwhile revealed today that over 500 people who had left the Western Province following the initial 3-day curfew announcement are now placed in self-quarantine. With the new curfew measures coming into effect tomorrow morning, the police media spokesperson, however, made it clear that the move will not restrict those sitting for the advanced level examination and the examiners.
Despite quarantine curfew being imposed over the Western Province, many persons had left the province before the curfew went into place at midnight on the 29th of October. However, police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana states that around 550 persons who left the Western Province have been identified and have been directed to undergo self-quarantine at the locations they are currently at.
A special operation was conducted to trace the persons who had left Western Province on the 29th and 30th to other areas, other local tourist destinations. The outstations, police stations have traced 550 persons who had left Western Province in disrespecting the quarantine order, and they have been ordered to be quarantined at the places where they are staying at the moment and would complete their quarantine period on the 12th of November 2020. So thereafter, we are ascertaining the possibilities to take legal action against them under the quarantine law. In addition to that, during this period, we have arrested 1,700 suspects in respect of quarantine curfew. 260 vehicles have been taken into police custody. A special gazette notification was published on the 15th of October about the quarantine rules and regulations. There are two main concepts in the gazette notification. The first one is face mask concept. The second one is the concept of social distancing. We gave a grace period for 2 weeks to familiarize with the situation. We conducted several awareness campaigns among the public in respect of these two concepts. So the grace period has been terminated. Accordingly, we have arrested 70 suspects in respect of face mask and social distancing. They will be charged in courts under the quarantine rules and regulation. If they are found guilty of the charges, the court can impose 6 months rigorous imprisonment, and in addition to that, 10,000 rupees fine.
The police media spokesperson went on to say that candidates sitting for the advanced level examinations and the examiners will not have issues in travelling to their respective examination centres.
In addition to that, tomorrow also the GCE advanced level examination is conducted. All the students, and apart from that, the examiners and other employees in respect of GCE A-level examination are allowed to attend examination duties, and apart from that A-level examination, they are allowed to come on their own transport or any other transport mode, and they are not restricted in respect of quarantine laws and regulations.
We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Bear with us.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now in news just in, Sri Lanka's 21st COVID-19 death was confirmed just a little while ago of a 40-year-old resident of Mahara who passed away yesterday at the National Hospital for Respiratory Diseases in Välisaara. A total of 193 new coronavirus infections were reported today, bringing the total number of COVID-19 cases so far in the island to 10,856, with 5,931 currently under treatment. However, 506 recoveries were also reported today, making this the record for the highest daily recoveries so far. Further, the Deputy Director General of Health Services warns that if stricter controls are not implemented, the country's 143 ICU beds may not be sufficient to cope with infections from high-risk communities. Meanwhile, Brandix today refuted reports that its Minuangoda facility would reopen tomorrow, issuing a statement saying that the facility will remain closed until further notice.
A total of 239 COVID-19 cases were reported in the country yesterday. The figure included 86 in the Colombo district, 21 from the Gampa district, 28 from the Ratnapura district, 20 from the Karutura district, 11 from the Bavaniya district, 10 from the Kegol district, and 4 from the Galle district. The remaining 59 from this figure are cases detected at quarantine centres across the country. At district level, the highest number of COVID-19 second wave cases has been reported from the Gampa district, with a total of 3,245 cases so far. In comparison, the total cases reported from the Colombo district stands at 2,008. Cases, however, are reported in 24 out of the 25 districts, and the Kilinochchi district remains untouched by the second wave of COVID-19. Meanwhile, currently the Punani Treatment Centre houses the highest number of active patients undergoing treatment, with 659. The others are the Dr. Neville Fernando Teaching Hospital in Malabe with 496, the Gallala Treatment Centre with 453, the Bingiria Treatment Centre with 431, the Kandakadu Treatment Centre with 362, the Kambarugamo Centre with 146, the IDH in Colombo with 196, the Kahagola Treatment Centre with 184, the Amelipitia Centre with 183, the Kathankudi Centre with 144, and the Watupidivela Centre with 137. In the meantime, the epidemiology unit stated that there are currently over 5,700 COVID-19 patients being treated at 36 hospitals and 9 treatment centres island-wide.
රෝගය අවදානම් කණ්ඩායමකට වැළඳිච්ච හැම අවස්ථාවකම වගේ මරණයෙන් කෙලවර වීමට ලොකු ඉඩකඩක් පවතින බව දැන් ඉතාමත්ම පැහැදිලි. මේක තත්ත්වය පාලනය කරගන්න බැරි වුණොත් සමහර විට ඉදිරියේදී දීර්ඝකාලීන සංචරණ සීමාවන් වලට නොවැළැක්විය ලෙස යන්න ඉඩ තියෙනවා. ඒ නොවුනොත් මේ තත්ත්වය මීට වඩා භයානක වන්නට ඉඩ තියෙනවා. මේ වෛරසයෙන් මේ රෝගය වැළඳීම සඳහා සුළු ඉඩක් උනත් ප්‍රමාණවත් කියන එක අපිට දැන් පැහැදිලිව පෙනෙනවා. මේ වන විට ඇඳන් 143ක් ICU ඇඳන් මේ සඳහාම වෙන් කරලා තියෙනවා අවශ්‍ය වුණ පරිදි පාවිච්චි කිරීම සඳහා. අන්න ඒ 143න් තමයි මේ වෙන විට 3ක් පාවිච්චි කරන බවට වාර්තා වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි නැවතත් මම අවධාරණය කරනවා අවදානම් ජන කොටස් වලට මේක ගියොත් මේ ICU ඇඳන් භාවිතය මීට වඩා ඉහළ යනවා. ඒ අනුව මේ සුළු මොහොතකින් සමහර විට මේ ICU ඇඳන් ප්‍රමාණය සන්තුෂ්ත වන්න ඉඩ තියෙනවා.
Meanwhile, one staffer at an apparel manufacturing facility in Gurugoda, Horana, has tested positive after random PCR testing was carried out on 20 employees. Following this development, health authorities carried out a further 170 PCR tests on other employees at the facility and detected 20 more positive cases of COVID-19. The factory, which employs almost 6,000 workers, has been closed until further notice.
එක්කම හෙට දවසේදී සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශයේ නිලධාරීන් සහභාගී කරගෙන ඒ වගේ මැංගලුම් කම්මාල සහ දිස්ත්‍රික් ලේකම්තුමා මේ සියලුම කණ්ඩායම් අන්තර්පාර්ශ්වීය සහභාගීත්වය ලබාගෙන අපි හෙට දවසේ අවදානම තක්සේරු කරලා ඉදිරියේදී කර්මාන්තශාලා කරගෙන යාම සම්බන්ධව ඉදිරි ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගන්නවා.
Further, health authorities today took steps to transport COVID-19 positive patients in the Kalutara district who had not been sent for treatment as yet to the Rambukana Treatment Centre. Further, the Kegol District Health Services Director stated today that 20 new cases have been identified in the Mavanalla Medical Officer of Health Division. Officials say that all 20 patients are connected to the Paliagoda cluster. This brings the total cases from the cluster detected in the Mavanella Health Officers Division to 27 as of today. Further, 7 COVID-19 positive patients were detected after a total of 39 PCR tests were conducted in the Yatiantota MOH division. 6 of the 7 infected are reportedly from the Paliagoda cluster, while the other is a Colombo Port employee. In addition, the Beruwala Medical Officer of Health Division has so far identified 59 COVID-19 cases. It was reported that out of 30 infected persons identified during tests carried out on workers at the Beruwala Fisheries Harbour, 1 person had ventured out to sea along with 5 other fishermen before his test results had been received. Upon learning of this, health authorities took immediate steps to bring the fisherman back to shore and transport him to a treatment centre.
බෝට්ටුවේ හිටපු කාර්ය මණ්ඩලය තව 5 දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. උන් අපි බෝට්ටුවේම නිරෝධායනයට ලක් කරනවා. ආරක්ෂිත ස්ථානයක නවතා බෝට්ටුව තුලම නිරෝධායන කටයුතු කරලා ඊට ඉන්පසු PCR පරීක්ෂණයකට අපු උන් කණ්ඩායම ලක් කරනවා.
In the meantime, 2 doctors and a nurse at a pediatric ward of the Colombo South Teaching Hospital have also been diagnosed with the virus. The trio had worked at one of the hospital's wards where previously a mother and her child had tested positive. They were detected through PCR tests carried out on staff following this incident. Further, all patients of the ward have been transferred to other wards, while their associates are to be subjected to PCR tests in the coming days. Meanwhile, health authorities carried out random PCR tests in Kottava, where 2 supermarket employees were found to be COVID-19 positive. In other developments, 4 fishmongers who purchased fish from the Paliagoda fish market and engaged in house-to-house fish trading in the area of Arugoda in Panudura have also tested positive. Following this, health authorities have requested all possible persons who may have purchased fish from the 4 traders to immediately contact their local health officials. In addition, authorities also detected a further 5 fish traders from the Panudura town who tested positive and transported them to the Rambukane hospital for treatment. Meanwhile, a resident of the Brownlow estate in Muskelia, employed at the Paliagoda fish market, has tested positive for the virus along with his son. Following this detection, a further 50 area residents from 15 families who had attended an almsgiving at the patient's residence were ordered to self-quarantine. Meanwhile, a woman police officer attached to the Colombo Crimes Division in Dematagoda and 2 others were also found to be COVID-19 positive. Following this, 235 women police officers at the Women's Police Barracks located at Malulasekara Mawata, where the patient was housed, have been placed in self-quarantine. With this detection, the number of police personnel at the Colombo Crimes Division who have been infected with the virus has now increased to 26. In addition, 2 police officers from the Modra police station, 2 from the Dematagoda police station, and 1 each from the Colombo port, Maligavatta, Mardana and Grand Pass police stations have also tested positive so far. Accordingly, the total number of COVID-19 infected police personnel now stands at 125.
125 police officers have been found COVID positive patients. In addition to that, approximately 300 police officers are on quarantine centers and 2,000 police officers are in barracks and camps on self-quarantine procedures. But the latest cases were found from the quarantine centers where the police officers were kept on quarantine procedures. So therefore, the latest cases in respect of positive police officers have not been found from the police stations or the duty points. They were traced from the quarantine centers. However, the Acting Inspector General Police has taken all the measures in order to terminate spreading COVID among police officers, and the newly recruited police officers have been deployed in the areas where the COVID positive patients were found and run police stations smoothly.
Meanwhile, it has been reported that a police officer on duty in the Colombo area had attended a birthday celebration in Diagama, Nikavaratia, before his test result for a PCR test that he underwent was received. Following his test result coming back positive, 165 people from 36 families who attended the party have been placed in self-quarantine by health authorities. Further, an employee of an elder's home in the area of Tavalampitia in Mirigama has reportedly tested positive as well. Reports say that the employee had last visited the home on the 28th of last month and had frequented several locations in the Ragama area during this time. Tests carried out at the home had found 4 of its residents to have contracted the virus. Meanwhile, following our report yesterday of a fish trader in the Piliandala area who had not been transported for treatment after testing positive, health authorities took action to transport him to hospital 4 days later today. In other developments, the Chinese embassy in Colombo tweeted that a PCR testing machine at the infectious diseases hospital that was reportedly inoperative will be back in action on Monday. Chinese technicians who flew into the country to carry out repair work had detected the fault after 10 hours of diagnosis work on the machine. The cause of the problem was reportedly an unstable surface that the machine had been stationed on. After several rounds of testing, the PCR machine has now been certified by the Chinese technicians. Meanwhile, a further 193 new COVID-19 patients were detected today, the Government Information Department announced this evening. Out of this total, 187 patients are reportedly associates of the Paliagoda cluster, while the remaining 6 were detected at quarantine centres. Meanwhile, the total number of infected patients detected in the country so far now stands at 10,856, with 5,931 currently under treatment. The number of recoveries reported so far rose to 4,905 after a further 506 new recoveries were reported today. This is the highest number of recoveries recorded in a single day from the island so far.
Now, just to recap news which was confirmed a short while ago, a 40-year-old from Mahara who perished yesterday at the National Hospital for Respiratory Diseases in Valisara is now confirmed as Sri Lanka's 21st COVID-19 death. See you shortly. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, the Colombo Stock Exchange says that all stock market operations will continue as normal from tomorrow onwards. The announcement comes despite the curfew covering the Western Province being extended until the 9th of October. Now, analysts expect the lower number of COVID-19 cases to have a positive impact on the week ahead, but warns that any escalation in the number of cases could dampen the stock market. Now, here's a brief report on how the market is expected to behave in the coming week.
Looking at the upcoming week, things are likely to be highly dependent on the COVID-19 situation in Sri Lanka. So we are slowly starting to see a reduction in the number of positive cases, and that is likely to positively impact the market as well. However, any sort of escalation again could dampen the market simultaneously. So with that overall earnings season also being positive, we feel that the investor mindset is likely to be on a positive course, overall benefiting the index as well. Foreigners may continue to be on the exiting cycle where with the uncertain environment that is there globally. So there is likely to be no difference regarding that point. However, locals, we feel that if the market is very active, it's likely to be highly dominated by retail as we've seen over the past 2 to 3 weeks. So any upward trend is likely to be significantly dominated by the retail space, while we feel that there is likely to be higher level of activity in the material segment. There is likely to be some buying interest in selected blue chip counters. So these are some of the sectors that investors should be concentrating on for the upcoming week.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.